Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple.
Two European giants clashed at the Parc des Princes when Pochettino's PSG hosted Ancelotti's Madrid. PSG came into the match as favourites and with better league form, and in the end it was PSG who managed to squeeze out a victory thanks to a stunning Mbappe goal. The expected goals showed it was a deserved win, but how did PSG manage to be so dominant? Let's take a look. And for all football fans and Premier League fans in particular, our video sponsor Spitch is the perfect fantasy football app for you. Spitch is a subset of OneFootball and it allows you to compete weekly for real money or for fun against your mates and the world. That's right, weekly, because we all know how hard it is to keep updating your fantasy team every week. But with Spitch, you can pick a new team every single week to compete against your mates on a number of different pitches. So instead of having to play every week to win a prize at the end of the season, you can win a weekly prize, so you aren't disadvantaged if you miss 1 week. You can play on the free pitches or the paid for ones, and either way you can win real money. So for the next Premier League game week, my team looks like this. Let me know what you think of it down below. So download Spitch for absolutely free through the link in the description below to give it a go, and to help support the channel. Spitch is currently only available in the UK and Ireland. You have to be 18 and up, and all you need is your ID to register. We'll first look at PSG in possession. In most situations, PSG were able to get into the first phase relatively easily through the centre-backs. Real were not consistent pressers. But when they did press, Benzema was the press trigger, as on the rare occasions where he pushed forward, the entire team backed it up, with the defensive line moving high. But for the most part, this was ineffective, as PSG consistently had the numerical advantage due to Donnarumma being the extra man and playing well with his feet. So, when he drew a presser, a defender would become free who he could look to find. Real looked to sit deeper for the most part in a dedicated 4-5-1, with the wingers dropping fairly deep, and Casemiro patrolling the space between the lines where Messi would usually look to operate, which we did see at times. In more controlled build-up, Verratti and Paredes were excellent on the ball, having the joint most touches in the match. But Danilo is slightly less comfortable on the ball, so he would drop into the backline instead to create a back three, which allowed PSG to achieve several things. In this match, Messi operated even deeper than a false nine, as at times he was effectively just a roaming midfielder, meaning that even with Danilo deep, PSG still would not be overloaded in the midfield, as they still had three. In addition, Hakimi and Mendes are both excellent offensive fullbacks who like to provide the width, so the extra solidity provided to them by Danilo allowed them to move forward with less worry. This would also allow Mbappe and Di Maria to operate much more centrally, and they played almost as dual forwards, so the starting 4-3-3 often morphed into a 3-3-4 when attacking. From this deeper position with two men to pick out, Messi could then look to pick out a man, leading to some decent chances. But having so many men in close proximity in the centre meant that with quick passes and 1-2s, PSG could potentially play between the lines, and this could lead to dangerous situations. But Real were quite solid defensively for most of the match, meaning that particularly early on, many of PSG's shots were from suboptimal positions, usually outside the box. This was achieved as Real defended extremely narrowly when necessary, with their midfield three protecting zone 14 and making any progression through here difficult. PSG could also attack the wide regions effectively at times by utilizing the half space. Players in this channel are usually hard to pick up, as both the centre-back and full-back would have to move out of position. So, with Asensio defending slightly higher, we often saw Mbappe take up the position, meaning Mendes was free to receive on the outside, where he could then look to combine with Mbappe once again. Or he could progress for a cross, ending with a game-high 5 attempted crosses. From this inside position, with Carvajal coming narrow, when Mbappe did receive, He could also be extremely aggressive, as it was still a 1 versus 1 with Carvajal, and he could look to attack the line, attempting a game-high 6 dribbles. This led to the PSG penalty, and later the goal. Verratti was also given a lot of attacking license, so when Mbappe remained central to combine and be a goal threat instead, Verratti would move into the half space and look to similarly combine from this half space position or to find Mendes out wide. But one of the chief reasons PSG was so dominant was their effective pressing. In open play and from goal kicks, they operated with a much higher backline than Real, in order to compress the space that Real could play through. And they had 2 variations of the press. Messi could start high alongside his forward partners, ready to press Courtois as well, and in this situation, 2 PSG midfielders would push forward to man-mark Real's own midfielders and support the press. But more commonly, Mbappe and Di Maria started much higher and more central, ready to press the centre-backs, as Courtois is not particularly good with his feet, so PSG were happy to force him into trying riskier passes. In these scenarios, Messi would be deeper looking to tie up Casemiro, and when Casemiro was taken, Kroos often looked to drop deeper and become the second pivot. But now, PSG would only have to commit 1 extra midfielder to the press, meaning they could maintain more midfield defensive solidity. And with the wingers pressing narrow, the obvious space would be to the fullbacks. However, PSG anticipated this, and they have 2 front foot fullbacks who are happy to leave their post and press in these situations. And if Real looked to go longer into the winger directly, the backline will shift across, as Kimpembe and Marquinhos are both mobile enough to be good in the wide regions. As a result, it was difficult for Real to get out in this match. Overall, PSG were the only real attacking force throughout the 90, and will go to the Bernabeu with a slight edge. Real are still well in it though, and will fancy their chances back home. But what did you make of the match? Who do you see going through? And for the managerial tactical score, Poch gets a 7.5, particularly for the solid pressing and defense in general, making it impossible for Real to maintain sustained possession. And Ancelotti gets a solid 6.5, as his clear tactic of looking to defend solidly worked for the most part until later on in the game. But what are your ratings?
And if you enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy the FMS Patreon. On Patreon, you'll get early access to videos, exclusive videos, as well as the ability to vote on various polls and so much more. It's a great way to support the channel, and it is now cheaper than ever. All you have to do is head over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple, or press the card in the top right or the end card at the end of this video.
And a special thanks to my patrons, including my latest high tier patrons like Jake, Math, Cecil Gittins, Rudra, Andy Ray, and Daniel Angulo.
But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.